In 1922, deep beneath the burning sands of Egypt, a sealed tomb was opened for the first time in over 3,000 years. Inside rested a forgotten boy king. Gold covered the walls. Strange symbols warned intruders to stay away. And then, people started dying, one by one. A wealthy lord suddenly collapsed after a mosquito bite. An explorer's pet canary was eaten by a cobra the exact day the tomb was opened. A man entered the burial chamber healthy and died days later from a mysterious fever. Newspapers exploded with terrifying headlines. Death comes on swift wings to those who disturb the Pharaoh. The world became convinced of one thing: the mummy of King Tutankhamun was cursed. But was it truly an ancient supernatural revenge? Or was something even darker hiding inside the tomb? For centuries, the sands of Egypt hid countless secrets. But among all the forgotten rulers of ancient Egypt, one name would become more famous than all the others combined: Tutankhamun. Ironically, during his lifetime, he was not a powerful king. He became pharaoh around the age of 9. Just a child. His reign lasted less than a decade before he mysteriously died at only 19 years old. No great wars, no massive conquests, no legendary empire. For thousands of years, history almost forgot him completely. Until one man became obsessed with finding his tomb. That man was British archaeologist Howard Carter. For years, Carter searched Egypt's Valley of the Kings with little success. Many experts believed the valley had already been fully explored, but Carter refused to give up. His financial supporter, George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, was losing patience. He told Carter he would fund only one final season of excavation, one last chance. If they failed, the search was over forever. Neither man knew they were about to uncover one of history's greatest discoveries and unleash one of the world's most terrifying legends. November 4th, 1922. A young water boy accidentally stumbled over a buried stone step beneath the desert sand. Workers began digging carefully. Then another step appeared, and another. Soon, Carter realized they had discovered a staircase leading underground. At the bottom stood a sealed doorway covered in ancient royal markings. Carter's hands reportedly shook as he examined the seal. This was untouched, undisturbed, a tomb lost for over 3,000 years. He immediately sent a telegram to Lord Carnarvon. At last have made wonderful discovery in valley. Weeks later, Carnarvon arrived in Egypt with his daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert. Finally, on November 26th, Carter made a tiny hole through the sealed doorway. He inserted a candle and peered inside. Carnarvon impatiently asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter famously replied, "Yes, wonderful things." The room glittered with gold, golden statues, chariots, jewelry, treasures beyond imagination. It was unlike anything the modern world had ever seen. Most tombs in Egypt had been robbed centuries earlier. But Tutankhamun's tomb remained almost perfectly intact, and deeper inside, beyond another sealed chamber, lay the king himself. Soon after the discovery, strange rumors began spreading across Egypt. Some claimed the tomb carried an ancient curse. One alleged inscription supposedly warned, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." The terrifying phrase spread rapidly through newspapers worldwide. There was only one problem. Many historians later discovered the exact curse inscription may never have actually existed. But by then, it was too late. Fear had already infected the public imagination. Then came the first death, and suddenly the curse no longer seemed fictional. In April 1923, just months after opening the tomb, Lord Carnarvon was staying in Cairo when a mosquito bit his cheek. Normally, this would mean nothing. but the bite became infected after he accidentally cut it while shaving. His condition rapidly worsened. Soon he developed blood poisoning and pneumonia. Then on April 5, 1923, Lord Carnarvon died. The timing shocked the world. But what happened next terrified people even more. According to reports, at the exact moment Carnarvon died, the lights in Cairo mysteriously went out. Miles away in England, Carnarvon's dog allegedly howled and suddenly dropped dead. Newspapers exploded. The Curse of Tutankhamun had claimed its first victim. Then another eerie detail emerged. When archaeologists examined Tutankhamun's mummy, they noticed a small mark on the pharaoh's cheek, the same location as Carnarvon's fatal mosquito bite. Coincidence or warning? The media chose its answer immediately. The curse was real. And now the deaths began multiplying. Over the following years, numerous people connected to the tomb died unexpectedly. Each death fueled public hysteria. One wealthy visitor entered the tomb and later died from a mysterious fever. An Egyptologist reportedly became seriously ill soon after examining artifacts. Another man was allegedly shot by his wife shortly after visiting the burial chamber. One archaeologist's assistant died suddenly in his sleep. Another suffered a fatal poisoning. Even people only loosely connected to the excavation became linked to the curse by newspapers desperate for sensational headlines. The death count grew. 5, 7, 10, 12. Some stories claimed more than 20 people died because of Tutankhamun's curse. The public became obsessed. Movies, books, and newspaper stories turned the boy king into a supernatural legend. And then came one of the strangest incidents of all. Howard Carter's pet canary was reportedly eaten by a cobra. In ancient Egypt, the cobra symbolized royal power and protection of the pharaoh. Workers panicked. To them, this wasn't coincidence. The king was angry. The tomb should never have been opened. By the mid-1920s, mummy curses became a global obsession. Spiritualists claimed ancient magic protected Egyptian tombs. Psychics warned dark forces had been awakened. Some people even believed Egyptian priests had secretly created supernatural traps to kill intruders thousands of years later. The fear became so intense that museum workers were reportedly afraid to handle artifacts from the tomb. But not everyone believed the curse. Many scientists dismissed it entirely. They argued something else was happening. Panic, media hysteria, and coincidence, after all. Thousands of people visited the tomb. Most never experienced anything unusual. Even more importantly, Howard Carter himself lived for many years after opening the tomb. If the curse was real, why didn't it kill the man most responsible? Carter survived until 1939, 17 years after discovering the tomb. That fact alone created massive doubt, but the mystery still refused to die, because scientists later discovered something deeply unsettling hidden inside ancient tombs. Something real. Something potentially deadly. Decades later, researchers proposed a chilling explanation. Ancient sealed tombs can contain dangerous bacteria, fungi, and toxic mold trapped for centuries. When disturbed, those spores can enter the lungs. Some experts believe certain people connected to Tutankhamun's tomb may have become seriously ill from exposure to ancient microorganisms. One possible suspect was a fungus called aspergillus. In vulnerable people, it can cause deadly lung infections. Others suggested toxic gases or ammonia buildup inside sealed chambers may have affected explorers. Suddenly, the curse no longer sounded supernatural. Maybe the tomb itself was biologically dangerous. But even this explanation had problems. Not everyone exposed became sick. Many archaeologists spent years inside the tomb without major illness, and several supposed curse victims died from completely unrelated causes. car accidents, old age, murder, existing health problems. Statistically, many historians now argue the deaths were exaggerated by newspapers seeking profit from fear. Still, some coincidences remain disturbingly strange. Decades later, researchers proposed a chilling explanation. Ancient sealed tombs can contain dangerous bacteria, fungi, and toxic mold trapped for centuries. When disturbed, those spores can enter the lungs. Some experts believe certain people connected to Tutankhamun's tomb may have become seriously ill from exposure to ancient microorganisms. One possible suspect was a fungus called aspergillus. In vulnerable people, it can cause deadly lung infections. Others suggested toxic gases or ammonia buildup inside sealed chambers may have affected explorers. Suddenly, the curse no longer sounded supernatural. Maybe the tomb itself was biologically dangerous. But even this explanation had problems. Not everyone exposed became sick. Many archaeologists spent years inside the tomb without major illness, and several supposed curse victims died from completely unrelated causes. Car accidents, old age, murder, existing health problems. Statistically, many historians now argue the deaths were exaggerated by newspapers seeking profit from fear. Still, some coincidences remain disturbingly strange. Much of the curse story exploded because of newspapers. In the 1920s, sensational journalism was booming, and the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was the perfect story. Ancient Egypt already fascinated the public. Now combine that with mysterious deaths. And suddenly the media had the greatest horror story on Earth. Some reporters even invented supernatural details with no evidence. Fake curse inscriptions appeared in articles. Coincidences became proof. Normal deaths transformed into terrifying mysteries. Fear sold newspapers, and the world bought it. Soon Hollywood joined in. Mummy movies portrayed cursed pharaohs rising from the dead to hunt intruders. The image became iconic. Wrapped mummies, ancient revenge, forbidden tombs. Almost every modern mummy horror story traces back to Tutankhamun. One tomb changed global pop culture forever. So, was the curse real? Let's examine the facts. Fact 1. Several people connected to the tomb truly did die unexpectedly. That part is real. Fact 2. Most of the deaths happened years apart and from natural causes. Fact 3. Many key people involved with the excavation lived long lives. Howard Carter survived for nearly 2 decades afterward. Lady Evelyn Herbert lived until 1980. Dr. Douglas Derry, who examined the mummy, lived into old age. If a supernatural curse existed, it was strangely inconsistent. Modern historians generally agree the curse was massively exaggerated, but they also admit something important. Human psychology is powerful. Once people believed the curse existed, every coincidence became terrifying evidence. Fear itself became contagious, and even today, more than 100 years later, people still debate the mystery. Because deep down, part of us wants to believe ancient tombs hold dark secrets, but there's another theory few people discuss. What if the curse wasn't supernatural, but intentional? Some historians suggest ancient Egyptians may have deliberately designed tombs to terrify grave robbers psychologically. Think about it. If stories of curses spread, fewer thieves would dare enter royal tombs. Fear itself became a weapon. Ancient priests understood human superstition extremely well. Warning inscriptions, terrifying symbols, and elaborate burial rituals may have been designed to protect the dead through fear. And in many ways, it worked. Thousands of years later, people still fear disturbing Egyptian graves. The pharaohs may not have needed magic at all. Only the power of belief. Today, Tutankhamun's golden mask remains one of the most recognizable objects in human history. 7 million visit Egyptian museums every year hoping to glimpse the legendary boy king. Yet despite over a century of scientific study in London, the fascination never fades, because the story contains everything humans fear most: death, darkness, ancient secrets, and the possibility that some doors should never be opened. Maybe the curse was fake. Maybe it was bacteria, maybe it was media hysteria, or maybe something ancient still waited inside that tomb, watching. Today, Tutankhamun's golden mask remains one of the most recognizable objects in human history. 7 million visit Egyptian museums every year hoping to glimpse the legendary boy king. Yet despite over a century of scientific study in London, the fascination never fades, because the story contains everything humans fear most: death, darkness, ancient secrets, and the possibility that some doors should never be opened. Maybe the curse was fake. Maybe it was bacteria, maybe it was media hysteria, or maybe something ancient still waited inside that tomb, watching.